That was just a little bit quicker than Martin. Just a quick tyre selection check for you. Everybody in the field has gone for the hard front, medium rear tyre, apart from the Hondas of Marc Marquez, Stefan Bradl, Taka Nakagawa and Joan Mir. That quartet have gone for that soft rear tyre. Marquez and anyone's making the early grip advantage count as he's up there in 8th place. So we'll try and find out then what happened to the South African Brad Binder. We just saw it on the previous lap. Marc Bagnaia and Betsecchi picked up their speed going for 131. It was just too hot for Binder to handle.
Turn 14. There it is, into turn 14. The yellows brief that came out in the fourth sector just before we went into that replay to show you what happened with the race partner and Brad Binder crashing out of the race. So any hopes of a KTM podium now once again rest on the shoulders of Daniel Pedrosa, who is matching the race leaders for pace, but he's 2 seconds off the back of the leading trio.
You do think that any glimmer of hope, a small glimmer of hope that Binder had of winning the World Championship this year for KTM, that has just gone with that crash in Misano. We do some 8 races left. Lights out and we are going. San Marino is a superb launch from that 10th MotoGP pole from Jorge Martin. He leads the way, just as he did in the sprint yesterday. Marco Betsecchi's got away well too. Bagnaia, they're going to go slow. Pedrosa has a moment there on the rear as he squeezed the power on towards turn 2. He was briefly in 3rd place, but Pedrosa back in P4 where he started.
Pedrosa had a fantastic start. I thought he was going to hindsight there through turn 2, but he is back into 4th place where he finished the sprint yesterday. That looks like Brad Binder siding through the inside of Maverick Vinales. Binder hasn't fallen short where he did yesterday by getting a 4 start. He's away well this time, straight up into 5th.
He barged his way through the pack yesterday, didn't they? Picked their way through the players that went on 3 races. We barely find out who is on Frankfurt and Pecco Bagnaia's got the bright yellow Ducati out there today because the vision not clearly easy, is it? As they pick their way through. Martin leads, Bagnaia then in 2nd place. We're right on board with the world champion, through to Monte for the first time. Then second in 3rd place, Marc Marquez. He's already up into 8th spot on the factory Honda.
Really good start from the middle there. He's up 3 into 7th place, just ahead of the Marquez brothers. Aleix Espargaro, he's 10th. He's lost 4 places off the line, so 4 starts with 2 factory players. Aleix Espargaro has actually dropped behind Luca Marini now into 11th.
Yeah, Vinales finished the sprint yesterday in a disappointing 6th place. That's where he finds himself early on here then in this 27-lap race. But looking back briefly to Pecco Bagnaia, now looking forward from Bagnaia's Ducati towards your race leader. Martin then attacking into the Misano corner. Here comes Bagnaia. That was going to be a real daring move. You don't see many moves still coming through that final corner. He just showed Martin his front wheel there, didn't he? Martin is there that leads at the end of the first lap. Bagnaia second, second third, Pedrosa 4th, Binder 11th first, that was a bit.
He's having a little dip as well into turn 2. Bagnaia very keen to get on with this early on, isn't he? He is all over the back of Jorge Martin like a rat. He now closes in into turn 4, but Bagnaia, we know, is so good on the brakes, and he carries a tighter line there than Martin, who goes slightly wide into 4 and 5. Martin really backing up the world champion early on.
Stunning onboard footage this, isn't it, between Martin and Bagnaia. They power down and they'll just click 6th gear briefly on that Red Bull bridge. You can just see there, I was just about to say, Brad Binder's got to find a way through Daniel Pedrosa because that top 3 are breaking away. He had to make that move pretty quickly, did Binder, and he found a way through on the KTM wildcard. So Binder then up into 3rd spot. It's Oliveira and Vinales side by side going into turn number 10 there. Pretty good back in the 6th place.
It looks like Vinales has mishandled that one for now. He's still in 6th place. Betsecchi now close to Bagnaia, and Bagnaia is to Martin. We saw them almost going side by side with 4 and 5. But Bagnaia now settling into 2nd place. Crucial moment, a crucial move from Brad Binder in these early stages to get ahead of Daniel Pedrosa, and you can quickly see how he's put some space between himself and his teammate, and he's closing in on the back of this leading trio.
Yeah, as soon as Binder got through on Pedrosa, he's gapped him by 7/10 of a second already in the first 3 splits on this 2nd lap. They'll come through the final corner then on this lap 2 of 27. It will be Martin who will have the advantage, closely pursued by Bagnaia and Betsecchi. Binder has set the fastest lap of the race so far, having dispensed on Pedrosa and leading down to the 132, the 132.324. That was just a little bit quicker than Martin. Just a quick tyre selection check for you. Everybody in the field has gone for the hard front, medium rear tyre, apart from the Hondas of Marc Marquez, Stefan Bradl, Taka Nakagawa and Joan Mir. That quartet have gone for that soft rear tyre. Marquez and anyone's making the early grip advantage count as he's up there in 8th place.
Yeah, a really good start to the Prix for Marc Marquez, who did launch himself up the order early in the racing. Catalonia only to slip back as the race unfolded, and that doesn't repeat itself here once again. Right sprint yesterday, and that will be the adrenaline rush that Bagnaia needs to try and keep himself as close to the front of this race as possible. As soon as he's got Jorge Martin right ahead of him, that will just keep him dialed in, just keep the adrenaline pumping. Because the longer this race goes on, the more of a physical challenge it's going to be for Bagnaia, particularly if Martin starts to ease clear.
Well, over one lap on soft tyres, Martin was dynamite. He was absolutely untouchable in the third and fourth sectors. But Marc Marquez said the sprint yesterday for 13 laps, it was actually the first two sectors where Martin on the race runs had the superior pace. He wasn't out there, was he, that second one? In fact, he was nursing that left-hand injury, which was really hindering him on those aggressive change direction in that first sector. Particularly here, when you go right into turn one, then immediately an aggressive change direction, you bank your left now through turn two, and there's another aggressive flick to the right. This is where Bezzecchi was really suffering yesterday, just to manhandle that GP22 around in that battle against Martin.
Fascinating early battle then between these three Ducatis, and you see Bagnaia once again able to carry that tighter line through turn four. Martin then has the better look at five, we now ride through six with Jorge Martin, the pole man, looking back at Bagnaia. Bezzecchi, the fastest rider on track. He set the fastest lap last time around at 1:32.205, but very little to choose between our leading four, with Brad Binder matching the Ducatis ahead of him, but still 8/10 of a second from the back of Bezzecchi in third.
Nearly 80,000 fans here today, already loving this action, aren't they? As the two Italians, Bagnaia and Bezzecchi, maintain this early pressure on the poleman Jorge Martin, who led every corner of yesterday's 13-lap sprint. He's been in that very same position so far early on in this Grand Prix. Through the fast right-handers now, breathtaking, that six-gear Cabone corner. One of the spectacular corners on the Grand Prix calendar there. At the moment, he's trying to hone in on this top three. It's Brad Binder, out of picture as they go through the first gear, turn 14 on this fourth lap. Let's have a quick check on Binder. He's 7/10 of a second behind Bezzecchi, so he's found a couple of tenths actually to the Emilia Romagna rider on this fourth lap.
Although, to be fair, he did lose a lot of that in the first sector, so it's kind of restored Binder to where he was when the lap began. Martin does set the fastest lap of the race at 1:32.0 as he opts the pace. Personal best for each of the leading five last time round, including Danny Pedrosa, who does a 1:32.2. He's starting to pull clear of Marc Marquez, who got quicker as the sprint went on yesterday, but at the moment he doesn't have an answer for the two KTMs ahead of him.
Disappointing this, isn't it, to say the least, from Vinales, who's had four MotoGP poles here in Misano. He made his brilliant debut in a private test exactly 2 years ago. He had big hopes, particularly after his two podiums in the sprint and the Grand Prix in Barcelona last weekend, but he just has not had the front-running pace, and that's how it's going so far this Sunday for Vinales. Still there in sixth place, just resisting from Miguel Oliveira on the year on the Prix behind him as Bezzecchi goes in wide. He goes in really, really wide. That's going to drop him back into the clutches of Binder, and of course costing time to Bagnaia directly ahead of him. He was able to regroup, but just running slightly offline there, Bezzecchi has cost him half a dozen bike lengths to Bagnaia at least.
Saw him making mistakes in the sprint yesterday as he was trying to keep up with the leader Jorge Martin, so he's hoping that that's not going to be a history repeating itself for him. He's quickly closed back up again through the right-handers of 11, 12, 13 and 14, so it didn't in the end cost Bezzecchi that much time. The ride on board then with Jorge Martin. This will be completing lap 5 of 27. You'd imagine Jorge Martin, if he's comfortable running this pace at the front, we're thinking, I'm just going to keep this up, keep the relentless pace up as much as I can, and ask the question of the two riding wounded behind him. Can Bagnaia and Bezzecchi last this pace for the full 27 laps? Because there's nothing wrong with Bagnaia's pace at the moment.
Yeah, those big questions that Martin's posing are being answered emphatically, aren't they, by the world champion. Bagnaia now the fastest rider on circuit here in Misano. He's got down to a 1:32.003. That was about a tenth and a half quicker than Martin. We're looking directly ahead of now. They come to the tight turns 4 and 5. Now this Misano circuit really starts to open up. You build speed. Second gear through turn 6. Bagnaia crashed out the lead there nearly 2 or 3 years ago. Bizarrely blamed a tear-off, which gifted Marc Marquez victory. Coming from a long way back though is Marco Bezzecchi into Quercia corner. Bezzecchi goes through. Well, he put that mistake at turn 10 behind him on the previous lap. Very, very quickly, Marco Bezzecchi. He then hits second place.
Beautiful move that from Bezzecchi, although he's running hot again for the second lap in a row into Tramonto. So all that hard work that he did, he put us a brilliant move on the brakes into Quercia. He's now going to make that move all over again.
Kicking himself inside that helmet right now, Marco Bezzecchi, because it was a beautiful move to get into that second place. Pecco Bagnaia on the brakes in the turn number 8. Not an easy place to overtake there. So easy for just running that little bit hard. a normal lot 2 corners later, although he's immediately, once again, got straight back onto the rear tyre of Bagnaia. Through turn 15 we go then. We're looking now directly towards Bagnaia in that very distinctive bright yellow one-off home race Ducati livery. The boss looks on. He'll be liking what he sees so far. Bagnaia and Bezzecchi still in those podium places. Martin finds another PB lap in the Grand Prix. 1:32, 1:45, 3:10s he took out of Bagnaia on that last circuit.
Fastest rider on circuit though is the rider in fourth. Brad Binder sets his personal best of 1:32.050. The battling between Bagnaia and Bezzecchi was not only played to the hands of Martin, but also crossed into the hands of Binder, who will close in on that leading trio. There he is on the 33 now coming through your picture. Fastest rider on circuit, just a second off the lead then.
Quicker than Bagnaia and Vignard on that last lap was Pecco Bagnaia, Marc Marquez doing absolutely rip-storming job on that soft rear tyre. How long will that soft rear hang in there underneath Marquez? He's taken the punt to get some information and knowledge for HRC ahead of what's a very important post-race test here tomorrow, particularly for the stronger Japanese manufacturers as Fabio Quattro and Marc Marquez pin their hopes on some new kits, transforming their fortunes, not just this season but into next season as well. And there's been some big pre-race reports here in Misano that despite all the gossip and speculation about Marc Marquez moving to Brazilian Ducati next year, that he will see out the final year of that unprecedented 4-year contract with Honda. So Marc Marquez at the moment still in 8th place.
Look at the leading 4 then, led by Jorge Martin. This trio of Ducatis, the top 3 in the World Championship, the top 3 in this Grand Prix. There's the gap that we're tracking between Bezzecchi and Binder. Not getting any closer really on this lap at this stage to the top 3. Here he is on the 33. You can see that the pace has been raised up a notch by the riders up ahead. Martin set the fastest time of the Grand Prix, immediately bettered by Bagnaia.
Fair play to Bagnaia and Bezzecchi, because at this stage of the race, they have got the speed, they can go with Martin. Martin is trying to force issue here, just to try and tire and fatigue out the 2 injured Italians behind him. But every time he pushes, there's a response coming immediately behind him. There we go, then back to Marquez on the 93 Red Honda. He is on that Michelin soft rear tyre with still 20 laps to go. Everybody around him on the hard front medium rear tyre. You just wonder whether durability and endurance issues make Patel Marquez's hopes of a rare bid into a top 10 this year, but at the moment he's doing another rousing job in there in 8th place. The next best Honda, you've got to go all the way back down to Tranmere, who is, or Stefan Bard actually, the test rider, who was in 20th place.
Talk about all the contrast from one Sunday to the next for Aleix Espargaro. He's down in 13th place at the moment. A shocking accident so far for the factory of Prix, who didn't get the start. Lost places on that first lap from the second row of the grid. He's forgetting he started 6th in this race. Aleix Espargaro is in 13th. He's in a battle with the 2 Frenchmen. Joan Zarco ahead of him in 12th, and Fabio Quartararo just behind him in 14th.
This is Quattro's problem. He's probably got the better speed than Aleix Espargaro. They're pretty ahead of him, but he just can't find a way through. Here's a replay then of Aleix Espargaro's one start, it looks like. We're on board with the double Catalunya winner last weekend. Not going to play well at all, did he, on that RSGP? Immediately swallowed up. Oh, Brad Binder's crashed out. Brad Binder is coming from our screen. We're looking at this replay. Brad Binder has crashed out of 4th place. That was the big rear tyre slide. And Danny Pedrosa has checked up the field behind him. He made a really good start, hadn't he? We still look at these replays and there's contact there between Bagnaia and Bezzecchi, but Brad Binder has crashed out of 4th place. Jack Miller's going to track this warning, so we'll try and find out then what happened to the South African Brad Binder. We just saw it on the previous lap. Martin, Bagnaia and Bezzecchi picked up their speed going from 131. It was just too hot for Binder to handle.
Turn 14. There it is, into turn 14. The yellows briefly came out in the 4th sector just before we into that replay to show you what happened with Aleix Espargaro and Brad Binder crashing out of the race. So any hopes of a KTM podium now once again rest on the shoulders of Danny Pedrosa, who is matching the race leaders for pace, but he's 2 seconds off the back of the leading trio.
You do think that any glimmer of hope, a small glimmer of hope that Binder had of winning the World Championship this year for KTM, that has just gone with that crash in Misano. We do some 8 races left as Martin goes well wide through Misano. He didn't care about track this morning, but Binder was already 96 points behind Bagnaia coming into this Misano Grand Prix. It's going to be well over 100 unless something happens to Pecco Bagnaia later on here. So Brad Binder then, surely that's his title aspirations completely extinguished. So before we saw that Binder incident, you had some observations and some thoughts for me.
What I believe I'm seeing is, I'll be honest, I didn't expect Pecco to be able, with his injuries, match lap for lap I think you'll see him come back, have another go, but he won't spend too much time there.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. The pace is slacking off here. One man who's really upping his speed is Pedrosa in fourth place. He's just on a PB lap. He's in the 131s. 131.937. That was 3 or 4 tenths quicker than anybody directly in on circuit. Yellow flags.
Yeah,
About
KTM's
6 to 1.
Because it was Jack Miller and Michele Pirro who were plummeting down the order. They were running together in 14th, 15th and 16th, and there you can see both bikes there on the outside in turn 4. That's where Jack Miller crashed out here last year. He's gone down with Michele Pirro, so both of the factory KTM's down on consecutive laps.
Yeah, caught with that as well was Fabio Antonio, wasn't he? We just caught the back end of that. It looked like maybe Miller was ahead of Pirro on circuit. We won't of course blame until we've seen the full into that one. What is not up for dispute is that both of them are out this Grand Prix. A disastrous day for KTM, to say the least. Upholding error now is the wild card. The old warhorse himself, Dani Pedrosa, in 4th place. He was always a genius, wasn't he? Rear tyre management, helped by his lightweight and his silky smooth riding style, not overstretching the tyre. Again, Pedrosa keeps himself in those 131s. The gap between Pedrosa and Bezzecchi down to 1.3 seconds.
Surely not. There'll be many Dani Pedrosa fans watching back at home thinking, is the impossible possible? He was so close to the sprint podium yesterday, he just could not outbreak Pecco Bagnaia, but he's closing in. That's consecutive laps now. Pedrosa's been 3 tenths quicker than the trio of Ducatis ahead of him.
Honda might be having a horror show so far this season, but you have to dock your cap to Marc Marquez on that soft rear tyre. As we watch Miguel Oliveira run wide, that's why Marquez picked off that 6th place. Marc Marquez is running it pretty lowly at the moment. Yellow flags are out again in the first sector. That's still the third operation following Miller Pirro. So now Mir's gone down. Tran Mir has crashed yet again. His woeful 2023. We keep saying it can't get any worse, and as soon as you say that, it does. Mir was in 19th place. He's gone down at turn 4.
Dani Pedrosa is now within a second of Marco Bezzecchi. It's briefly increased through the 3rd sector. There is Tran Mir who's gone down on the outside of turn 4 and 5. Just as they cleared up the mess from Michele Pirro and Jack Miller, Tran Mir joins the same piece of tarmac as we now come back to the trio of Ducatis up the front. Dani Pedrosa up behind us, becoming an ever-increasing presence in the battle at the front of this Grand Prix as Martin, Bagnaia and Bezzecchi continue to trade lap times in the low 32s. Pedrosa's in the 31s yet again. 32.2 for the first two, 32.3 for Bezzecchi, 31.9 for Pedrosa.
It couldn't, could it? It could not happen, could it? Dani Pedrosa, his last MotoGP victory was at Valencia. The closing race of 2017, nearly 6 years ago. But Dani Pedrosa is about to play a big part in the outcome of this San Marino Grand Prix in 2023. This guy is pure class. We're talking about Dani Pedrosa, a rider who's had over 150 Grand Prix podiums. If you want to know about his stature in this sport, Pirro and Miller's incident is going to be reviewed after the race. Only Marc Marquez, Roy Lorenzo, Mike Harewood, Angel Nieto, Valentino Rossi and Giacomo Agostini have won more races than Dani Pedrosa in the 74-year history of Grand Prix motorcycle racing. But Pedrosa now starting to pose a big threat here in Misano. There he is, back in your picture in 4th place.
He's already had 3 tenths out of him on this lap so far as Pedrosa. The gap's down to 0.9 to 0.6. This trio of Ducatis are having their own private battle on the front. They're leading to win the championship, and they've got the wily old wild card closing in at the back of the picture. There he is into the picture. Pedrosa is closing at a vast rate of knots.
He's had 6 MotoGP podiums here in Misano. He was the race winner in 2010, the race winner in 2016. He was our 8th different winner in 8 successive races in 2016. That incredible run 7 years ago. But Dani Pedrosa, talk about old but gold, rolling back the ears, blast from the past. Pedrosa again is another personal best lap from the number 26, a 131.876. He's just 6 tenths now behind Marco Bezzecchi, striking distance to the front of this Grand Prix, 1.1 seconds behind Jorge Martin. This is astonishing. The fairy tale is on.
He's the only rider on circuit lapping in the 131s at the moment. The Ducati's ahead of They're not going slowly. They're in the low 32s. But for reference, you've got Miguel Oliveira, Alex Marquez and Ralph Fernandez are in the mid-32s. Luca Marini did a 33.9 last time round as he lost out to Ralph Fernandez and Johan Zarco. But this is 3 consecutive laps now where Dani Pedrosa has been a good third of a second quicker than the guys ahead of him. Through the first sector, Pedrosa is now within 0.6 of a second of Bezzecchi, who's surely getting information on his pit board. The 26 is catching you.
A podium is going to spark wild celebrations for the wild card. Imagine if he does win this Grand Prix. If Misano had a roof, it would be lifted off. Astonishing performances by Dani Pedrosa. He did say there in the sprint yesterday that when he was in that podium battle, he was a bit ring rusty. This is only his 3rd Grand Prix in the last 5 years since he retired from full-time racing at the end of 2018. He just didn't feel like he was razor sharp on the brakes to attack Pecco Bagnaia, of course, wary as well that he didn't want to do anything that was going to jeopardise the World Champions hopes for the sprint podium. But this is a different game. Overall injuries for Marco Bezzecchi this weekend. So for him to walk out of Misano with 2 second places, brilliant job by him as well. Let's have a look at the gap between Bagnaia and Pedrosa. It comes down in the second sector. That's where Pedrosa could claw back the time, but once again in sector 3, using all of his knowledge and expertise of this Misano circuit. He's done 1,000 laps around here, Andy Bagnaia. He's able to stretch away from Pedrosa in that 3rd split.
1:32.1 for Bagnaia last time around, so he was a couple of tenths quicker than Pedrosa last time around. That battle further back involving the RNF for Prix and Marc Marquez actually stretches back further than that. Luca Marini is closing them quickly down. He did a 32.1 last time around, as quick as the leaders are going. Marini might well have a say in that battle for 7th, 8th and 9th place. Alex Marquez runs 10th at the moment. He's got Aleix Espargaro and Johan Zarco right behind him, with Fabio Quartararo having a poor lap last time around, which is probably top 10 to any hopes of him salvaging a top 10.
It's a career best result coming in for Ralph Fernandez. You can see in the background there, he's about to attack Marc Marquez late on here. Marquez, as you'd expect, is running out of rear grip on that soft rear tyre because all of a sudden Ralph Fernandez and Luca Marini are right on his case. He looks like he might be a bit of a sitting duck here, Marquez. Just no edge grip, no grip to stop him going at the corners, no drive grip as well. Surely it's a matter of time before Ralph Fernandez and Marini find a way through on the 8 times world champion.
Yeah, Marini's especially the rider with the late race pace here. I think he might make good work of the pair of these up ahead of him. Of course, we're in the sector of black where Marini will have that extensive knowledge and ability to put that Ducati exactly where he wants it into turn 14. Then when they come across the line, then there will be just a couple of laps to go as we watch the 93 leading the 25, leading the 10. Up behind them is Alex Marquez. You can see it in the background on the iconic Cassini tribute livery. He's got Aleix Espargaro for company. That's the battle for the final place in the top 10.
Pedrosa back in the 131s late on here. A 131.999 from Pedrosa means he's just 0.2 of a second behind Pecco Bagnaia with 2 to go here at Misano. We're following the battle with Marquez, Ralph Fernandez and Marini. But it's game on here for this podium battle. You can see there Pecco Bagnaia on the left-hand side of your screens. That is the closest that Dani Pedrosa has been. Is he mounting a late charge here? Is he going to inflict late heartache on Pecco Bagnaia? Bagnaia, we know, is probably the best defensive rider in MotoGP. He's so hard to overtake. He's so good on the brakes, but it looks like he's just running out of rear grip himself here. This is the gap then. Bagnaia's being told that there's nothing between him now and Dani Pedrosa. Look at the corner speed that Pedrosa has, the edge grip that Pedrosa has, like carbon fibres chassis KTM. Bagnaia, there could be some crushing late heartache coming here. He's worked so hard for this home podium, but the pressure coming from Pedrosa.
The issues we've seen from Bagnaia in this race so far have been out of corners. We saw them over there out of turn 14 a couple of laps ago. He had that problem coming out of turn 10 earlier on as he desperately tries to get that bright yellow Ducati stopped into turn 14. There will be 1 lap to go once they complete these 2 left-handers. Can Dani Pedrosa finally solve the Pecco Bagnaia puzzle? He couldn't solve it in the sprint yesterday. He's got 1 more lap to try and snatch a first MotoGP podium for quite some time.
4.2 kilometres then stand between Pecco Bagnaia and a superhuman effort to take a home podium here, and Dani Pedrosa completing a fairy tale for the factory KTM team. They come through turn 3 then. Pedrosa still not close enough. This is one of the overtaking hotspots gone into turn 4 into Rio. So now it's all about using that superior edge grip that he has to try and just closed in on Bagnaia. Out of turn 6 they come, and Pedrosa's going to be nowhere near enough to attack him on the brakes into turn 8 as well.
As predicted, Luca Marini has made his way past both Rafa and Marc Marquez, so Marini now up into 7th place, although just as I say that, he's lost 3 places back again. No problems really on the plate of Jorge Martin right now, although his lead has come down to 1.4 seconds. The focus is all on this battle. Bagnaia versus Pedrosa. Pedrosa really needs a good run here through 11, 12 and 13 to be closer to 14, but I'm not sure he is close enough.
Pecco Bagnaia is the footballer coming to park in the bus, isn't he? 11 men behind the ball. He defends so brilliantly. He did it in the sprint yesterday against Pedrosa. He did it 8 days ago in the sprint against Marquez. It looks like he is going to hang on to a really, really hard-fought, hard-earned podium here to limit the damage and turn the championship. He is going to hold up Dani Pedrosa, who's throwing everything at him. But here comes Jorge Martin out of the final corner. Martin is the Misano maestro in MotoGP. He completes the dream double victory. He won the sprint yesterday from start to finish. He wins the Grand Prix today from start to finish. Jorge Martin then wins to close the gap to Pecco Bagnaia in the World Championship. Marco Bezzecchi, 2nd place for him.